We begin now at the top of Daf Yomi in Maseches Brachos. This is Berachos 11a. The Mishnah was just discussing the machlokas between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai regarding whether we take B'shachbecha u'v'kumecha literally or not. Beis Shammai say that we take it literally and a person needs to actually say Shema lying down in the evening and standing up in the morning, whereas Beis Hillel say it just means to tell us the times that a person should say Shema and is not meant to be taken literally. So now the Gemara explains. Bishlama Beis Hillel kamafarshi tamayhu. We understand Beis Hillel, they explain their own reason. V'taima de Beis Shammai, and they also explain the reason of Beis Shammai. Ela Beis Shammai, my taima lo amri ki Beis Hillel. But when it comes to Beis Shammai, why do they not agree with Beis Hillel? Amri loch Beis Shammai, so Beis Shammai will say to you, Imkein nema kra baboker uvo erev. If all the pasuk wanted to do was give us a time, it should have just said the words baboker uvo erev, in the morning and in the evening. My b'shachbecha uvkumecha. Why does it say when you lie down and when you get up? Why does it use those terms? B'shas shchiva mamish. It means at the time of lying down, you need to be actually lying down. Uv'shas kima mamish. And at the time of getting up, a person actually needs to be standing up. Uveis Shammai, hayu v'lechtecha v'aderech my avidlu. Now Beis Shammai, what do they do with the pasuk of uvelechtecha v'aderech? Beis Hillel uses that pasuk to tell us that a person can be just walking on the road doing anything when he's saying Shema. But what does Beis Shammai do? Hahumi boiluhu l'chidetanya. They use it for the following brisa. The brisa says, "B'shiftecha b'veisecha prat la'osek b'mitzvah." When a person is sitting in when you are sitting in your house, this excludes if you are doing a mitzvah. If you are doing a mitzvah, you are pater from kriyas Shema. This follows the principle of osek b'mitzvah pater min hamitzvah. When you're doing one mitzvah, you're pater from other mitzvahs. Uv'lechtecha v'aderech prat l'chasan. Similarly, b'lechtecha v'aderech, when you're walking on the road, this excludes a chasan. On the night when a chasan gets married, also he's engaged in a mitzvah. He is pater from the mitzvah of kriyas Shema. Mikan amru, from here they said, hakones es habasula pater. If a person marries a basula, a person marries a girl who's never been married, he is pater from kriyas Shema. V'yesva almona chayiv. If a person marries a widow, someone who's already been married before, he is still chayiv to say kriyas Shema. My mashma. The Gemara asks, what is the implication over here? How is it, or why is it, that the words b'shiftecha b'veisecha and v'lechtecha v'aderech have anything to do with b'mitzvah, osek b'mitzvah, pater min mitzvah? How do we know they're talking about the obligation is only when you are not engaged in a mitzvah? Amar Rav Papa says, ki derech. We're comparing this to a derech, uv'lechtecha v'aderech, to a road. Ma derech rishus, just like when you go on the road, you're going for your own purposes. It's your own trip. Af kol rishus. So too, anytime a person is doing something that is a rishus, something that is voluntary, that is when he's obligated in kriyas Shema. However, when he is engaged in a mitzvah, he is not obligated in kriyas Shema. The Gemara says, how do you know that? Milo askinam deka'azal edvar mitzvah. Maybe the pasuk is talking about when you're on the road to do a mitzvah. The whole drasha is of uv'lechtecha v'aderech, when you're going on the road for your own purposes, then you are pater from mitzvah. Who says it's for your own purposes? Maybe you're going for a mitzvah in the pasuk. And even though you're going to do a mitzvah, the pasuk says you need to read kriyas Shema. So the Gemara says, Im kein lichtov rachmana b'sheves uvleches. If that were the case, the pasuk would have said when sitting and when going. My b'shiftecha uvlechtecha. What is the added you when you are sitting, when you are going b'shiftecha uvlechtecha? B'sheves didach uvleches didach hu demechayeves. Ha de mitzvah petiras. It comes to teach us that when you're doing your own sitting, when you're doing your own going, when it's for a rishus, when it's for your own purposes, that's when you're chayiv. However, when you're doing it for a mitzvah purpose, that's when you're pater, and that is what Beis Shammai do with this pasuk. The Gemara says, "Ihachi, if so, afilu kones es v'almana." If the rule is that osek b'mitzvah is pater min ha-mitzvah, even when a person is marrying a widow, why is he not pater from the mitzvah Shema in that case as well? He's also doing a mitzvah. The Gemara explains, "High tarid v'high lo tarid." In one case, the person is preoccupied with the mitzvah. In the other case, he's not so preoccupied with the mitzvah. It is not as much of a strain upon the mind when a person is marrying an almana. The Gemara says, "Imishum tirda," but if this whole issue and this whole petur is because of the idea of preoccupation, of tirda, afilu tavas v'nasu bayom nami, even if a person's boat is sinking at sea, we should apply the same halacha, and we should say that a person is pater from mitzvahs when his boat is sinking. And if you're going to say that indeed is the case, a person is pater from mitzvahs when his boat is sinking, alama amar Rabbi Abba bar Zav de Amar Rav. Rav. Then why did Rabbi Abba bar Zavda say in the name of Rav, Ovel chayiv b'chol hamitzvos ha'amuros b'Torah, that an Ovel who certainly is preoccupied, he's certainly thinking about that which he is mourning about, he's still chayiv in all mitzvos that are said in the Torah, chutz min ha-tefillin, sharei nemar behen pe'er, one exception, by tefillin, the Ovel is pater from tefillin because it's called glory, it's called pe'er, shenemar, like it says, pe'ercha chavosh alecha, you're going to wear your glory upon yourself. So pe'er in that pasuk was referring to the tefillin, and that pasuk happened to be talking about Yechezkel, and it was saying that he, when he was mourning, he did have to wear tefillin as an exception. But the point is that in general a mourner does not wear tefillin, but is chayiv in all other mitzvahs. So you see that preoccupation is not enough to be to pater you from mitzvahs. So the Gemara answers, Hasam tarid tird in the mitzvah. Over there, in the case of a chasan, he is preoccupied because he is doing a mitzvah. He's thinking about the mitzvah. Hacha tarid tird the dereshos. But when we're talking about somebody who is in mourning, that preoccupation of his mind is not part and parcel of the mitzvah, and therefore he's not exempt from the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema. So now the Gemara says, Ubeis Shammai ahumi boilu prat l'shluchei mitzvah, Ubeis Hillel amri memela shma mina da'afilu b'derech nami kari. The literal translation of this Gemara is, Beis Shammai used that pasuk to exclude shluchei mitzvah, and Beis Hillel say memela. From there we learn out that b'derech you also read. Most of the texts over here take out this last line, as it does not really make sense because Beis Shammai was the one that we were just discussing. Now we pick up at the two dots over here. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa. Beis Hillel omrim, Beis Hillel say, Omdin v'korin, Yoshvin v'korin, Umatin v'korin. A person stands up and he reads. A person could sit and he can read Kriyas Shema. A person could lean, could lay, and he could read Kriyas Shema. Holchin b'derech v'korin, and a person could walk on the road and read Kriyas Shema. Osin b'malachtan v'korin. A person could be doing work and can read Kriyas Shema. This is Beis Hillel, the same Beis Hillel in our Mishnah that says you could be doing whatever it is and still be yotzei the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema. U'ma'aseh Rabbi Yishmael v'Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. There was a story with Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah shahayu mesubin b'makom echad, that they were sitting in one place. V'haya Rabbi Yishmael muta v'Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah zakaf. And they were sitting, and Rabbi Yishmael happened to be sitting down. He was leaning, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah happened to be standing up. Kevan shegiya zman Kriyas Shema, and then suddenly the time of Kriyas Shema came. Hita Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar then sat down. He was doing according to the opinion of Beis Shammai, so therefore he was saying the evening Kriyas Shema sitting down. V'zag of Rabbi Yishmael, and Rabbi Yishmael was standing up, and Rabbi Yishmael decided at that moment, to stand up. He did the opposite. So Amar lo Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Rabbi Yishmael. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he said to Rabbi Yishmael, Yishmael achi, Yishmael my brother, let me give you a mashal, what it is compared, what you just did, what it's compared to. It would be similar to somebody who was told that you have a nice beard, you have a nice long beard. And he said back to them, well, in that case, let it be destroyed. He doesn't take the compliment. So too with you. I'm standing up the whole time, and you're sitting. Now when I go and sit down, when I lean, so atazakafta, now you stand up as if you only want to do the opposite of what I'm doing. What's going on? Amar lo, so he said to him, Ani asisa kedivrei Beis Hillel. I have a very simple explanation. I was following Beis Hillel that you don't need to be leaning in the evening. Kriyas Shema, v'ato asisa kedivrei Beis Shammai. And you were doing like Beis Shammai, that you have to lean when you say the evening Kriyas Shema. Not only that, I'm afraid that the students will see, and they'll think that the halacha is like Beis Shammai for all generations. So that's why I had to make sure to say Kriyas Shema standing up. So the Gemara asks, why did he have to give a second reason that the Talmidim, the students, would see and think that the halacha was like Beis Shammai? So he explains, Beis Hillel nami islu matan. The Gemara says, well, maybe you're going to say that Beis Hillel also agreed that a person's allowed to lean, a person can sit, there's nothing wrong with it. No, that's only true if you've been leaning the whole time. But over here, since you were until now standing, now Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, you decided to lean. People are going to think that the halacha is like Beis Shammai. So we're afraid that the Talmidim will see, and they will indeed say that this is the halacha for all generations. The Gemara now finishes off with a brayso about whether or not it's okay to do like Beis Shammai. Must we do like Beis Hillel? Tani Rav Yecheskel, Rav Yecheskel taught. Also, Kedivrei Beis Shammai also. If a person followed Beis Shammai, he did, it's okay. Kedivrei Beis Hillel also, if he did like Beis Hillel, also okay. Rav Yosef Amar, Rav Yosef says, also Kedivrei Beis Shammai, lo asa v'lo klum. No, if a person does like Beis Shammai, it's as if he didn't do anything at all. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, Mishaya Rosha v'ruba b'sukkah v'shalchana b'soch habayis. Halach is, if a person has his head and the majority of his body are in the sukkah, but his table happens to be in the house. Beis Shammai poslan and Beis Hillel machshirin. Beis Shammai say it's problematic, it's puzzle. Beis Hillel say it's no problem. Beis Shammai say it's problematic because you might lean over and then you're going to end up eating in the house. Amru lahem Beis Hillel le Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel say to Beis Shammai, Ma'isa sheholchu ziknei Beis Shammai v'ziknei Beis Hillel. There was once a story where the elders of Beis Shammai and the elders of Beis Hillel went levakeres Rabbi Yochanan ben Hachornis. They went to visit Rabbi Yochanan ben Hachornis. Mitzau shayarosha v'ruba b'sukkah v'shalchana b'soch habayis. They found that his head, the majority of his body, was in the sukkah and the table was in his house. V'lo amru lo klum, and nobody said anything to him. It's a proof that we are correct. That indeed, Beis Hillel is saying, it's a proof that we are correct. That indeed, there's no problem with this. No one said anything to Rabbi Yochanan ben Hachornis, implying that this was a perfectly good way to sit and eat in the sukkah. Amru lahem, they said to him, Misham Rai, is that a proof? Avheim Amrulo, indeed they did say to him, Imkain ha'yisa noeg, that if this is what you've been doing, lo kiyamta mitzvah sukkah miyamecha, you have not fulfilled the mitzvah of sukkah all of your days. So Beis Shammai's response essentially was, they did protest, and the elders did say to him that this is incorrect. So the Gemara then says, so you see from here, the Gemara says, you see from here that just like Beis Shammai say to Beis Hillel that if you did like this, you have not fulfilled the mitzvah of sukkah all of your days, the same would be true in the reverse. We would tell someone that if we hold like Beis Hillel, if you do like Beis Shammai, you completely do not fulfill your mitzvah. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar also kedivrei Beis Shammai chayiv misa. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, he goes a step further, someone who does like Beis Shammai is chayiv misa, chayiv death. Ditnan, as we learned in our Mishnah, Amar Rabbi Tarfon says, Ani hoyisi ba b'derech, I was on the road, v'hitesi likros kedivrei Beis Shammai, and I leaned and I in order to read Kriya Shema like Beis Shammai say, v'sikanti bi'atzmi b'mnei halistim, and I found myself in danger from the bandits. Amrulo, they said to him, Kedai hoyisa lochav ba'atzmecha sha'avarta al divrei Beis Hillel. This is fitting that this should happen to you because you transgressed the words of Beis Hillel, and this shows us that somebody who does like Beis Shammai, not like Beis Hillel, is chayiv misa, as we see from the story of Rabbi Tarfon. Now we're at the Mishnah here, at the bottom of Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. Maseches Brachos says the Mishnah b'shachar mevorich shtayim lefaneo v'yachas lachareo. In the morning when a person says Kriya Shema, there are two brachos we say before Kriya Shema, and there's one bracha we say after Kriya Shema. The two brachos are Yotzer or, and then the bracha of Ahava Rabbah, and the bracha after Kriya Shema is the bracha that starts V'yatziv v'nachon and ends with Go'al Yisrael. Uvo erev mevorich shtayim lefaneo shtayim lachareo. And in the evening we make two brachos beforehand and two brachos after, the brachos of Hamariv, Aravim, and the bracha of Avasolam, and then afterwards we have the bracha Emes V'Emunah, which ends Go'al Yisrael, and then the bracha of Hashkivenu. The Gemara now says, Achas Arucha V'Achas Kitsara. One of these brachos is long, and one of these brachos is short. Now this is a little unclear what it means. Rashi here says, Achas arucha v'achas kitsara ashtayim la'achareha da'arvis koi. This is going on the two brachos after Shema of Ma'ariv, meaning Go'al Yisrael and Hashkivenu. One of them is long and one of them is short. And the Gemara and the Mishnah continues, Makom she'amru laharich, in a place, in an area where they say to say it in a lengthy way, Eino rashoy lekatzer, you can't make it short. So Emes ve'emuna is the long one, you can't make it short. Lekatzer eino rashoy laharich, and when they say to make a short bracha, again presumably Hashkivenu, you can't make it long. Lachsam, if they say to finish with a baruch, Eino rashai shalo lachsam, you can't not finish with a baruch. Sometimes brachas, like we find in Shemona Esrei, they end with a baruch. There's a baruch ato Hashem shomei tefillah type of bracha. And shalo lachsam, if it's a place where you're not supposed to finish off with a baruch, Eino rashai lachsam, then you can't finish off with a baruch. Rashi gives an example of that. Could go in birchas hapeiros u'mitzvos, the short brachos, like the bracha we make on foods and the bracha we make on mitzvos. Gemara now asks, "My mevarich, what are these brachas that we are saying?" Amar Rav Yaakov, Amar Rav Oshia. Rav Yaakov says in the name of Rav Oshia, and this will continue the answer of what these brachas are that we say for the morning Kriya Shema on Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis in the next video.